Tim Walz's brother doesn't want him to be vice president. His extended family doesn't want him to be vice president. Members of the National Guard don't want him to be vice president.
Tim Walz's brother is calling out the ideology. And if your brother is saying there's something wrong about your core values and your view of the world, then there's something for a lot of Democrats who do not ascribe to a lot of the far left radical Marxist policies for them to be thinking about, because he would be the number two. God forbid Kamala Harris were off the scene and, was in office. He would set the agenda for the rest of the nation.
There is one group of people that seem to really like Tim Walz, though. Communist China. The 30 trips to China, the honeymooning in China, the statist Marxist tendencies that he has, as Patrice pointed out. This guy is broken.
We've made it almost through the work week. This is it. We're on that final stretch. We've got a great panel coming your way. 61 days until Election Day, but that's not the big story, because next week, early voting starts in earnest. Tomorrow, North Carolina, Pennsylvania next week, and then a couple other states start to trickle in, including here in Virginia. We get the chance to vote early. But that big debate Tuesday night, we're going to talk about that in just a second. The panel's all here. By the way, we always talk about these outside forces. Big tech, we talked about that yesterday, putting their thumb on the scale once again for the left. Today, we find out that Vladimir Putin, he's fascinated with Kamala's laugh. I don't know. This is disinformation because it's more of a cackle than a laugh. We all know that. But he says he supports Kamala Harris for president. Now, this is going to be interesting how they handle this, because, of course, that's not the narrative that they want to set. The media will, of course, downplay this because that doesn't work into their narrative as well. I want to play you this real quick. This is what he had to say about Kamala's laugh.
He recommended to all his allies to support Ms. Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So he said that we should. That is why we should also do that. Well, her laugh, she's laughing. Her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good.
All right, that was fascinating. Obviously, Vladimir Putin adding an element to this election that we didn't see coming. All right, the panel's all here. We're going to get into them. Before I do that, I've told you guys before, this debate's next week. And I got to be honest, if you're on Team Kamala, you've got to be feeling sick to your stomach. But for most of us, 70 to 80% of us, in fact, what we're feeling isn't the same thing that Team Kamala is feeling. We've actually got unhealthy gut issues. It's disgusting to think about, but it's true. 70 to 80% of us deal with some kind of like indigestion, bloating, whatever. The cool part is what I have done to change my life, and what I recommend for you is to try Just Thrive's product. I start my day every day with their Just Calm, and then I've added the probiotic. Now, this is the probiotic pill. I upgraded. I went to the gummy because it tastes like candy and I love it. I'd eat like 50 of them all day, but I don't think that that's what you're supposed to do. The cool thing about the Just Thrive probiotics, though, is they actually get to where they're supposed to go. If you're taking a probiotic because you think you're being healthy, guess what? 99% of them, no, they don't actually get through your stomach to the intestine and help you where you're supposed to help you. That's nuts. So why are you even taking it? Just Thrive's products are actually more tested than anything else on the market. They are unbelievable, and they help you start feeling better. It's not just your gut, it's your mood, it's your sleep, it's your skin. So much stems from a healthy gut. Trust me when I tell you, the Just Thrive products are what you need to add to your diet like I did. And for a limited time, you can try Just Thrive, the probiotic, the Just Calm, or the gummy. I'm telling you, just try it. 20% off your first order if you go to justthrivehealth.com. Use promo code SPICER, justthrivehealth.com. All right. I want to bring in our panel because we have so much to break down today. The debate, Kamala Harris, new polling, so much happening. Patrice Nwuko, the better half of the Larry O'Connor show in the morning and soon to be called Nwuko and Company. I'm just telling you, she's also a senior policy analyst at Independence Women's Forum. Caitlin Sinclair, the official spokesperson there of TPUSA, who is doing so much. By the way, these guys, we talked about the ground game the other day with James Blair from the Trump campaign, Turning Point USA Action. I don't even know which legal entity it is, but the one that she speaks about, they are killing it on the ground, making sure that everyone gets out to vote. And Chris Stigall, we all know him from the battleground state of Pennsylvania, where Kamala Harris is parked out waiting for that big debate. All right, guys, good to see you all. I want to talk about the debate. I want to talk about Kamala, but the first thing I want to bring up is this Tim Walz family. So he's got this family in Nebraska. He loves connecting to Nebraska. Why? Well, we've talked about this on the road to 270 map here. Nebraska's 2nd district matters. He likes to be like what Scranton Joe is to Pennsylvania. He wants to be to Nebraska. But here's the thing, Caitlin, and I'll start with you. Here's his family wearing a bunch of T-shirts out in Nebraska being like, Walz's family for Trump. Like, he doesn't seem to be liked by his own family, Caitlin. And I think that's funny that, like, here you have a bunch of people not just saying we're not going to vote for him, but openly backing his opponent, Donald Trump.
Yeah, Sean, name a better endorsement than the nominated vice president's entire family, right? And I think what makes this photo, for your viewers that have already seen it, is Mima right in the middle of that photo with the biggest smile on her face, right? She seems so proud of that endorsement. So here's the thing. Tim Walz's brother doesn't want him to be vice president. His extended family doesn't want him to be vice president. Members of the National Guard don't want him to be vice president. So here's a question for the mainstream media. When the Kennedy clan came out supporting Biden over their own family member, RFK Jr., every media outlet covered it. So the question here is, will the media cover the Walz family supporting Trump? I'll wait for that.
Patrice, to that point, I want to play this. This is Jeff Walz, his brother, was on News Nation, where I happen to be a contributor. He spoke because he had put out these Facebook posts. Here's what he had to say on News Nation.
In an exclusive interview with News Nation, Jeff Walz, brother of Democratic VP candidate Tim Walz, says he wants to set the record straight after criticizing his brother Tim on Facebook, saying he's not the type of character who should make decisions about our future and that he's, quote, 100% opposed to all his ideology. Former President Donald Trump quickly pounced, praising Jeff on Truth Social, writing, "Sounds like a really great guy," despite saying to his Facebook friends that he had thought long and hard about endorsing Trump on stage. Now he tells News Nation he wants no part of the election.
And we're not campaigning or anything for him or against him or anything like that.
Jeff, who is a registered Republican and donated $20 to Trump's 2016 campaign, stands by his comments that he disagrees with his brother.
I will say I don't agree with his policies.
All right. So look, Patrice, he hasn't spoken to his brother in 8 years. He doesn't like him. He's not supporting him. He contributed to Donald Trump. To Caitlin's point, the Kennedys, when they came out against RFK, that was huge news. When Mary Trump came out against her brother, by the way, Don Trump Jr. is out with a story saying, wait a second, I hadn't seen my Aunt Mary in like 25 years, and suddenly she's the Trump expert, that everybody wants to hold up as saying whatever. This is, his family, his brother, Caitlin's point, the National Guard troops member that he served with. No one likes this guy that's around him, and yet he's America's granddad. Everybody loves Tim Walz. What the heck? I can't believe this.
Well, listen, he's also the new definition of masculinity. Don't forget that one. I prefer take my hunky husband, who actually is a good definition of masculinity. But the Tim Walz thing and his family, what I stuck on is his brother saying, I don't support his ideologies. And that tells me that there is something in this Tim Walz's approach to looking at the world that's Marxist, that's probably fascist, as we consider how he ruled with a heavy fist during the pandemic, that turned his own brother's stomach. I get it. In politics, you may not agree with your family members. And if you have a prominent role, whether you're an elected official or even you're a pundit and a talking head, your family members may be like, wow, my sibling, but I still love them. However, it's telling about whereas compared to when RFK Jr., his family kind of disavowed him. They disavowed him because of his politics being not coming out in support of the Democratic Party. I didn't hear them talk so much about all of the issues that he was really speaking about. This is different. Tim Walz's brother is calling out the ideology. And if your brother is saying there's something wrong about your core values and your view of the world, then there's something for a lot of Democrats who do not ascribe to a lot of the far left radical Marxist policies for them to be thinking about, because he would be the number two. God forbid Kamala Harris were off the scene and was in office. He would set the agenda for the rest of the nation.
Yeah, Chris Tegal, you've got a very Tim Walz background going today. I love it. It's you put on a camel hat, huh?
Do you buy it?
I do. Put on a camo hat, buddy, and you're there, because that's all it takes. But the level of, I mean, we talk all the time about the lack of media scrutiny, accountability on Harrison Walz. But I mean, I keep going back to what Caitlin said at the jump, right? This is everybody around him. It's one thing to have a one-off, but with Trump, it's like, this person doesn't like him within his family, and so we're going to make a big deal out of it. We're going to give him a book deal. Everybody that's been around Tim Walz, close to him, says, I don't like the guy for a variety of reasons. And yet we want to construct this narrative that he's Coach Walz. He's this lovable, huggable guy that everybody, it's like, that we all want to have as America's dad. And I'm going, really? Because the people who know him best don't seem to want to be around him.
Yeah. I call him the human mascot on my show. No human being gesticulates the way he does. He moves around like someone from another planet would put on a person's suit and move around. Like he's literally like a high school mascot. The wave, the frantic kicking and no human being behaves that way, first of all. That's just weird. There is one group of people that seem to really like Tim Walz, though. Communist China. They love him. And I agree exactly with Patrice's point. It is not about, I just don't like my brother. My brother went off the reservation is what Tim Walz's brother is warning us. There's something wrong with him. He's not just off as a personality. The 30 trips to China, the honeymooning in China, the statist Marxist tendencies that he has, as Patrice pointed out, this guy is broken. There's something really unhinged and weird about him. I don't know when we're going to find it out, but we will. And I'd rather find out about it after he loses.
Listen, I think we know it. We just don't, like, the media is like, please, let's not amplify it. We know it. We see it. Who likes him and who doesn't? The Chinese like him and everyone close to him doesn't. It's right there in front of our eyes.
Yep.
And to your point, Sean, that came out during the interview last week with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. He said nothing. I mean, maybe he had a couple of softball questions thrown at him. I thought he was going to be the babysitter in the room and jump in and intervene when Kamala Harris started saying crazy stuff or getting into a word salad. Instead, he was really silent, and it was as though he was trying to take notes on, okay, what's the policy position now? So it tells me that they are trying to keep him silent because they don't know if he would go off the reservation and say something crazy.
It's interesting because you feel like both of them. She says word salads all the time, and they're like, just you let her do the word salading. You be quiet.
Every time he's caught in a lie, by the way, every time they call him out and say, hey, you lied about your military service. Hey, you lied about being a Nebraska Chamber of Commerce winner. He just says, well, I'm a teacher and I get emotional, so screw you.
My wife says I have bad grammar.
Yeah. What are you talking about? You can't excuse those kinds of lies, but they, of course, Dana Bash let him do it.
Well, the media also excused him the other day, guys, when he was asked about the hostages killed in Gaza. All he had to do was say, this is unacceptable, despicable, we're praying. And then he could have, enjoyed his milkshake at the state fair and put on that show for the people at home watching. But he couldn't even say that. And the other group of people that likes Tim Walz besides communists, the low T beta soy boys. And we definitely don't want those guys running.
Wait. Walk me through that. Who are the low T? I assume T is testosterone.
That's right, Sean. Low testosterone, beta soy boys that are the opposite of masculine men, which we so desperately need back in this country. Please, we're begging. The girls are begging over here.
You mean guys that aren't doing this to greet people? I would assume you don't like. That's not what you want.
All right, I love this. I feel like Caitlin Sinclair is educating me. I will keep my eye out this weekend for low T soy boys.
Stay away, please.
Okay. One guy that is not going to get that moniker is Dave McCormick there in Pennsylvania. He's running for the Senate against Bob Casey. Obviously, Chris DeGaulle, you're well aware of this race. Brand new ad that I got to call out because I think this is sort of like the bat signal to everybody else that's running. Hey, guys, and take a look at this, and I want you guys to critique this.
I'm Dave McCormick, and I approve this message.
3 high schoolers die from fentanyl every day. As a sheriff, I see it. As a father, it happened to me. It was all fentanyl. And it was the lethal dose level. As a dad, it's a household I'm protecting. I couldn't keep him from it. If the border was secure, chances are my son will be alive today. We can't bring back the people we've lost, but we can get rid of the weak politicians like Bob Casey who let it happen.
I mean, dude, that's a powerful ad, Chris DeGaulle. How is that going to play, and how is it playing in Pennsylvania?
Every internal that I've seen has Bob Casey and Dave McCormick neck and neck.
Yep.
Dave McCormick has been the model candidate this cycle, and that's a rarity for a Pennsylvania Republican. We've had a spate of disastrous campaigns, but this guy is firing on all cylinders. I don't know who's doing his ads, but he has literally led, and I would say even at times the Trump campaign could follow Dave McCormick's lead in messaging.
Yes.
I mean, he's
That's why I'm
doing
showing
outstanding work. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, just I want Patrice and Caitlin, tell me what you think, because I look at that as a dad, and I look, and this guy's the sheriff. He's the sheriff. So he deals with the law enforcement piece. But I mean, I got to be honest with you. I was a little something in my eye there. But that, to me, when an ad evokes that kind of emotion, that's what gets me. And I thought that was the perfect combination of law enforcement meets empathy and personal touch. I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me, what did that move you?
Absolutely. And I think, taking from what Coach Chris just said over there, the Trump campaign has been doing a way better job of, getting rid of the name calling and Twitter wars and all of those attacks. And I think that's what McCormick did so well here, right? He invoked such emotion within all of us without doing any of the name calling on his opponent. And there was a recent Pennsylvania State Senate poll. I just saw this about a day ago that had Bob Casey and Dave McCormick tied for the very first time.
Yes.
And
yep.
He's saying in this ad, he's point blank saying, we can't bring back the people that we've lost. But you know what we can do? We can actually stop the 20 million illegal immigrants from coming into this country, and we can remove corrupt politicians. And again, did it without the name calling and all of
right.
those.
And may I just point out, could I just point out briefly, because your viewers should know, if they don't, Sean, Bob Casey's not just any Democrat. Bob Casey is a heritage Democrat name in Pennsylvania. It is so, this would be like a Republican challenging Chuck Schumer in New York and making it tight. That doesn't happen, and it's happening in Pennsylvania.
I think the only thing I would say here is there's so much power in the personal story. Leading with the personal story, but then also the other side of another angle to the immigration debate that we don't often hear about. If you are, everyone has heard about the rapes and the murders, and they are heartbreaking. But I think they're no longer penetrating to a lot of middle of the road folks, or even some Democrats who, say, well, yeah, that's not really in my neighborhood yet. But the fentanyl issue is. And the fentanyl issue is something that's going to resonate with a lot of suburban moms, so suburban folks whose kids, or maybe they know someone who was accidentally poisoned because of fentanyl, and that's coming through the southern border. So I think there's that effective tactic of using that personal story, but also hitting an angle to the immigration debate that has been flying under the radar right now.
Yeah. All right. Before we continue, I want to tell you guys about a really great guy that I've gotten to know, Leo Grillo. You've heard me talk about him before in the past on the show if you've been watching for a while. He founded Delta Rescue. If you go to deltarescue.org, you can see the great work that he's done. Take a look at the videos that you're seeing right now. Amazing work. If you're an animal lover, if you've rescued dogs, cats, horses, birds, whatever, then you'll appreciate the work that Leo Grillo has done at Delta Rescue, because it's a no-kill sanctuary for life, right? Keyword sanctuary in that, because I've told this story before. When I first met Leo, he schooled me. He was like, dude, it's not a shelter. We're not looking to place these things. We give the dogs, cats, all these animals who need nutritional and veterinarian care, who've been abused, the support that they need for life. That's the beautiful thing about Delta Rescue. And if you want to help, you can go to deltarescue.org and make a contribution. We get hit up a lot these days for political contributions, and that's great. Please do what you can to help the candidates. But causes like what Leo has done are so helpful for those people who don't get government help, who do this because they feel a mission to help, in this case, animals. So go to deltarescue.org. More importantly, when you're at that site, you've seen the videos, go to the top, you'll see that tab that says right there, estate planning, make a donation, and then think about whether or not Delta Rescue can be part of your estate and your legacy so that we can keep the great work that Leo has been doing going for decades and generations to come. Thanks for your consideration. I appreciate it. I do want to shift back to Pennsylvania, because that's where, it's not just that great ad that Dave McCormick is running and the closeness of the Pennsylvania Senate race, but Kamala Harris is now camped out in the lead up to the debate. Okay. And we'll talk about the debate in just a second. But But here's the thing that I find fascinating, Patrice. The shape shifting is one thing, right? She flip-flops on the issues. But then, she apparently wants to thank union members, and there's a new Kamala Harris that wants to thank them. Let's play the video.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
All right, you heard her there. What's this? I don't get the accent. I don't get it. She suddenly, what is she, Southern? And then, by the way, Peter Doocy asks Karine Jean-Pierre in the White House, what's changed? Let's see if we can play that right now.
Since when does the vice president have what sounds like a Southern accent?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is...
She was talking about unions in Detroit using one tone of voice.
Is this something that
same
you think...
line.
Okay, Peter.
That she used the same line in Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a Southern drawl.
I mean, do you hear the question that you're... I mean, do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care... You know what they care about? They care about the economy. They care about lowering costs. They care about health care. That's what Americans care about.
So
that's what they want to hear.
This is something...
They care about, your colleague just asked me about, what basically we talked about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom. That's what they care about. I'm not even going to entertain some question about the president. It's just, hearing it sounds so ridiculous.
Wait. So hearing it sounds ridiculous. There's so much to break down there, Patrice. One, that Karine Jean-Pierre has no clue that this is happening, which shows that either she's really that stupid or that checked out, that she has no idea that this is happening. Yeah. And two, that it's not, to me, a question of the issue. It's a phony question. It's an authentic question. This is Kamala Harris. I will be whomever you need me to be, wherever I need to be. Just tell me what I need to sound like, what policy I need to support, and I'll do it. I have no core value. When she says her values haven't changed in that interview with Dana Bash, I don't think she has any.
She doesn't. So she's a politician. She will say whatever it takes. Kamala Harris, I'm speaking about here. She will say whatever it takes to get elected, and then she will do whatever she wants to do because she's an authoritarian. Let's not forget the clip of her in the past saying, "Oh, I've discovered I have a wonderful thing called a pen, and with a pen, I can write people's destiny. I can determine what crimes they get charged with, and whether they get prosecuted, etc." So what she's doing, changing the accents. I mean, in the past, they've called it code switching, which is, if you're Black, you're shifting from traditional or proper standard English. And then when you're around family or friends, you're using Ebonics, slang, etc. That's not what this is. This actually does go to her, well, whatever audience I'm in, I'm going to just sound like I'm part of the people. She's not. She's an elitist. She's an authoritarian. She's a person who has her head in the air and her feet somewhere else, not planted on the ground. And so do I give a pass to the press secretary there, Karine Jean-Pierre? No, but frankly, she could have just said, well, that's a question for the campaign because that was a campaign rally. Instead, she decided to try to explain it away and hope that the rest of the reporters in the room would think that that's a ridiculous question. And I don't think they did. I think they started looking at each other like, maybe there's a point.
I don't know. Caitlin, tell me what you think, but I do think the American people actually, what makes Donald Trump appealing to so many people is the authenticity, and the phoniness of Kamala Harris actually is important to them.
Yeah, guys, I think more than an America First agenda. I really mean this. I think the American people are longing for authenticity. That's why you see network news dying. That's why you see people not connecting anymore with the stiffness of your classic politician. And that is absolutely why Americans love Donald Trump. He's been authentic. He's been real. He's been raw with us, sometimes too raw and raunchy, but the American people, they are longing for that. And, I'm almost positive, Sean, that Kamala Harris wasn't using that ghetto accent that she was using in Detroit when she was locking up Black males for marijuana use, right? Funny how that works. And what's more cringe to us, the fact that Kamala Harris uses the same speech everywhere she goes, or the fact that she changes her accent depending on where she is? I don't know if the American people are going to fall for this, and I think that's the insulting part here, right? Does the camp think that the American people are that dumb? This is an Indian woman from California raised in Canada, and all of a sudden she has these Southern accents, a ghetto accent. I mean, isn't that cultural appropriation?
Oh, there you go. That's it. That's cultural appropriation. That's a good point.
Caitlin is so right about this, because it makes me think about when Trump went to the National Association of Black Journalists.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
And everybody assailed Trump for that. But if you actually listen to the reaction to the people in that room, I maintain, and you all may disagree with this, listening to the reaction in that room, I thought many were with him in laughing at her for pointing out what an insincere phony she is. I thought that was a devastating moment, actually, for her.
Well, there are a lot of people in the Black community, guys, who absolutely don't call her Black. I mean, because of her because of her background, they don't consider her either culturally in any sort of affinity with the Black culture, and frankly, just kind of putting it on like a cloak for political expediency.
Yeah. I just think that this goes, I mean, Chris, I actually am glad you brought this up, because I'm thinking about it as you're saying it. And it's funny, he was getting to the inauthenticity of her, that she'll be anything to anybody. You know, she'll be Indian if she's at an Indian crowd. But this is the perfect example. I wish that this clip had happened before that speech to the National Association of Black Journalists, because it would have resonated a lot more once people fully appreciated how phony she is.
But what Patrice said, look, I'm, of course, not black, as you can see. But what Patrice said's key. Don Lemon, when he walked the Atlantic City Boardwalk and talked with many people of color, and shocked to learn so many black folks say, that lady, I'm not buying what she's selling.
Yeah.
You're hearing it over and over again.
Poor Don Lemon.
All right, poor Don. That actually, I can't believe he actually put that video out, by the way. All right, I want to get to the debate. Before I get to the debate, because I think we're going to see some unexpected stuff. Before we do that, I want to tell you about one other unexpected thing. So many times in our lives, unexpected weather hits on the electrical grid can leave us without power. We're talking days, weeks, potentially even months. And the question that all of us have to answer is, are we going to be ready, or are we going to regret not being ready? I know I'm ready here in our house because I have a Patriot Power Generator 2000X right here. And the cool part about it is what makes it different is that it runs on a solar panel that comes free with it. Why does that matter? I've had a generator in the past when the power went out, and you have to run to the gas station to fill up the little red can here, fill it up, hope that the credit card machine works, hope that they stay open in 3 or 4 hours whenever the gas runs out. You have to keep the machine outside, the generator outside, because it smells and it makes a ton of noise. With the Patriot Power Generator 2000X, it runs on solar panel. You can power everything for hours, your refrigerator, your tablet, medical devices, you name it. You can bring it into your house. It's completely portable. You can bring it to a friend's house, a family member's house, but you will be ready. You won't have to worry about gas and fumes and whether or not the credit card systems are working. Go to 4patriots.com right now, /Spicer, 4patriots.com /Spicer, and get a Patriot Power Generator for you and your home and your family. Be the hero. Don't be a loser. Don't wish you had done this when it happens. And I don't mean to be doom and gloom. Something's going to happen. Whether it's a natural disaster incident or a hit on the electrical grid, something's going to happen. And it might be an hour and it might be a week, but don't be without a Patriot Power Generator. Go to 4patriots.com /Spicer. All right, let's get into the debate. Chris DeGaulle, she's camping out in Pennsylvania. What's the over-under that she randomly walks out to get a bag of red Doritos at a Wawa or a Sheetz?
Well,
I don't know. People who are watching, those are the two convenience stores in Pennsylvania, of which there is sort of a rivalry between the two.
There's a healthy rivalry. And of course, Joe Biden's Department of Labor went after Sheetz not too terribly long ago. So the Sheetz people are not particularly fond of Ms. Harris and Mr. Biden anyway. But having said that, the question is she going to have to clear these places out and bus supporters in, which they think she's done in New Hampshire. They say she's going to go out and mingle with folks. Every time she does, much like we were just discussing, she's just like Mrs. Clinton. Selena Zito, who I think covers Pennsylvania, she lives there better than anybody else. Selena said that she thinks that this matchup is almost identical to Trump versus Hillary Clinton in 2016, in that she's having that same connectivity and authenticity problem Mrs. Clinton did, and I agree.
All right, ladies, tell me where I'm. I know they've tried to preview that she's gonna just randomly go out around Pittsburgh. I don't. That doesn't work for her. And Chris is absolutely right. But I think that, and we showed that. Remember that Sheets video that we saw a couple weeks ago where she went and got Doritos, and they filmed it. They had to make it like. We got to see that they actually lied about it, that they filmed it a couple times to be like, wow, Tim Walz found the Doritos. And then Doug Emhoff found the Doritos. Like, they don't do authentic, real interactions with people. It's all staged. It's like a movie scene.
Oh, I mean, what isn't staged with this campaign? Let's not forget the phone call that she got from Obama. She just happened to have a camera rolling on her at the time. And it's like, hello? And he's like, Kamala? And she's like, oh, hello. Kamala. And then he said, Michelle is here. And she's like, oh, hello. Sorry, I'm just going to throw some innuendo in there. But yeah, everything is staged. And yeah, I'm sure she's going to run into a couple of people on the street. They're just going to happen to have I Love Kamala Harris t-shirts all over them. Or they're going to happen to be, probably busting union supporters, talking with the PRO Act hashtag, I love the PRO Act. I'm going to destroy small business and self-employment in this country. That's what I'm expecting. It's sad, though, that she's going to be off the campaign trail for 5 days to be, cramming like it's a final exam time just so that she could match up with President Trump, who, as far as I know, is going to still be pounding the pavement as much as possible, doing every podcast imaginable to get his message out there, which is, what do you have to lose? And there's a lot to lose, as you've seen in the past 5 days.
Yeah. Speaking of the staged phone call, guys, didn't we love Kamala Harris staging being on the phone earlier this week, getting out of her motorcade, getting onto her plane, being on the phone? Okay, I'll just admit this. So I use that tactic all the time. It works wonders on the subway. The creepy men don't talk to you. The guy trying to sell you something maybe, leaves you alone. I use it all the time. But I'm allowed to use it. It's reserved for me, not for a woman.
Wait, just so everyone gets this, and I've got this here. Kamala Harris has this new tactic where she takes, and I have a pair right here. Oh, they're going to fall down.
It's a great trick.
She takes wired earbuds and puts them in so that reporters, she's like, I can't, I'm on the phone.
I can't hear you.
Hear you.
Sorry.
Sorry. What's the Gaza question? But I get it.
I do. When somebody approaches me that I don't want to talk to, I've got to take this.
I just put the earbuds in and walk them all around. People are like, aren't you worried about like Bluetooth radiation? I'm like, I'm not actually talking. I'm just avoiding you.
But, all right. This debate Tuesday, what's fascinating about her prepping is she's, as Patrice said, she's got to cram.
Yeah.
And this is like somebody like when you were a kid and you had to cram for a test. Trump lives this every day. Yes. He just freewheels and talks. She's cramming facts, because she can't have notes. She can't study lines to hit at him. That's why she wanted the open microphone so she could take swipes at him and make T-shirts out of the that little girl was me crap.
Yep.
She can't do any of that. So she's got to remember lines that she hopes will stick while she's got to remember facts with no notes. And she's scared to
Chris,
death
what you're
of that.
talking about is exactly what I've been saying. She is so good at the scripted. I was that little girl. But you can't, once you go beyond that, every moment, think about the tarmac the other night when Evan Gershkovich comes home. And this goes back to the point that Caitlin was saying about about Tim Walz. He gets asked at the Minnesota State Fair, what do you think about Gaza? All he had to say was, our thoughts and prayers are with these hostages and these families. I know that the vice president is working hard, and then eat your ice cream and go back. And he couldn't even do that. When Evan Gershkovich is, they're at Andrews in the tarmac and they ask her about this moment, which is easy. Again, we are so delighted that another American is back home, and we'll continue to work to release every American that's being held in captivity or inappropriately, blah, 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 whatever. She can't do that. And that's what I think is going to be interesting. So, let me just ask you guys, because I'm fascinated by this. What do you, give me your prediction for what you think that if we had to make headlines Tuesday night, what happened at the debate, what do you think it shakes out to be, Caitlin? I'll start with you.
Well, she might still have one of those headphones in her ears, guys. I'll be paying.
You think there's a better chance that she wears headphones or brings Tim Walz?
Well, the message doesn't exactly scream girl boss femininity when she brought tampon Timmy to that interview with Dana Bash. So that was quite the message for the young women at home watching. But, you're right, Sean, getting past all these quick little sound bites of, I'm speaking, Mr. President. She can't go that much further now. Like the American people want more, right? We want some answers from her. And I think the headlines will be quite interesting. She has to cram in a vision, an agenda, policies, and an actual plan that she has for the American people, not just I hate Donald Trump. And so far, we have none of that, just a bunch of paying influencers to twerk and practically begging people to donate on her website.
Here's a headline for you. Trump hits, Harris misses. And I think that's what you're going to see. It's going to be President Trump hitting her with fact after fact, what he did in his administration, where the economy is, where the nation is, where the world is. He's going to hit with the facts, and then she's going to miss in terms of, well, what is her rebuttal? And how does she disentangle herself from the Bidenomics and the Biden failures while still claiming credit for the Biden successes, if he can name some. So that's the headline. Trump hits, Harris misses.
Here's what she'll try, though. What she will try is to get Trump defensive and call him a felon and a woman a sailor. And I've asked specifically of the campaign over and over, is he ready for the personal shots that she's going to take to try to get him agitated? And I think they're well aware that's all she's got, and that's what she's going to hit him with. I'm a prosecutor, you're a felon. That's the thing she's going to try. I don't know.
You and I are on the same page. I said this earlier this week. I talked to President Trump Friday night. He knows this. He knows what's coming, that she is going to they're sitting in Pittsburgh right now. They're like, let's come up with 5 lines. And all you have to do is just say them. And the idea is to get him to respond to them. So I think you're right. It's going to be, we're not a country of dictators, Mr. President. I am that little girl. Please stop talking. I mean, she's going to, it's going to weave
with
everything.
5 different accents, 5 lines, 5 different accents.
But, could I ask, I'd love to ask the ladies on the panel, she will go hard at women's reproductive issues and how he has, quote, assailed women. I guarantee that's where she goes. So what do you think he's best to say back, ladies, if I may ask, Sean, because I don't know the answer to that.
You cannot defend what you cannot define. And Kamala Harris and her party can't even define what a woman is. I think Donald Trump needs to explain.
Caitlin Sinclair for the win.
Mic drop.
Yeah, no, I think that was good, Caitlin. If she can't even define what a woman is, when it comes to I think his good response is, women are, number one, not just about reproductive rights. They're about being small business owners. They're about making the financial decisions in their household. You know what? Do you know how much a gallon of milk cost when I was president versus when you're the current sitting vice president? How much it costs, what a woman is spending right now, or on childcare, or on trying to buy a house, how much it costs, how much you need to save to be able to put down to buy a house. So I think he can pivot away, and there's a way to call her out for what she's done wrong and keeping her tied to Bidenomics, but then pivot as much as possible to remember when things were good, and this is how we're going to get back there again. Because she's also not putting forward a very positive vision or policy agenda that people want to latch onto. Hence why the Washington Post columnist is saying, hint to Harris, if the left calls you a Marxist, don't introduce price controls, right? So go at it with her in that way, and I think that's a good response.
And I throw in the raped and murdered women across the country because illegals have been pouring in across the border over on her watch. I think that's another one to remind her of all the innocent women that have been killed, raped, and assaulted because of her lax border policies.
All right, so there's 4 possibilities that I see happening. 1, to Chris's point, he talks about the border and women. 2, the Patrice point about facts and what your policies have done to women versus my policies. The Caitlin Sinclair one, where he basically just goes straight at, you don't even know what a woman is. Or I'll throw out number 4, which is, that's not what Willie Brown said. I don't know. I'm just... trust me. Okay, we're gonna talk on Wednesday because he always has these lines, and I will
What could I ask before we move off the debate thing, Sean? Because you'd know this. David Muir and ABC generally. Do you like the setting? Do you trust Muir? Or do you have concerns about the woman running ABC?
First of all, yes, and yes. First of all, I don't know that David Muir is a real person. I think he's AI.
No, I've met him. He's
handy. He can't be AI.
He's like a miniature little man. Sorry,
he's a soy boy.
But he's real and he's petite.
Dude, this is the definition. If you said, well, again, we can't ask Alexa because we know what answer she's going to give us. But if we ask Siri, what's the setting for the debate? It would be like, Donald Trump is walking into the lion's nest. The moderators hate him. The network has rigged the game against him. The rules are favoring Kamala Harris. Like, that's the answer. Like, this is, everything is against him. He set this up because he thought he was dealing with Joe Biden. This is all favors Kamala Harris. Let's just be clear. The deck is stacked against him in every single way. We saw Lindsay Davis at the National Association of Black Journalists. The contempt she has for Donald Trump is palpable. I mean, this is a woman that doesn't like him and has no problem making that very clear. I think, look, here's my take on this. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. I think that the media realizes that they're all getting calls. Guys at ABC, this is on you. We tried to stop them. We've covered up stories. We've suppressed stories. We have amplified things. We don't talk about Kamala. We don't talk about Tim Walz. You guys, David Muir, Lindsay Davis, it's up to you now. 60 days out. I'm sorry that we have to call you, but we're telling you, no matter what happens, it's up to you to take down Donald Trump. I think ABC doesn't care. They're going to take him down. They have to. Their colleagues, their friends, everyone at their club realizes that the weight of the is on their shoulders. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think ABC gives a crap. Their view is, we want to be the ones that get credit for taking him down.
Well, join the list of all the people who've tried. I mean, let's not forget about all of the cases, 91 charges at one point against President Trump, and the legal system, the lawfare that has been lodged against him, and that was not enough. So I think that, I guess they will recognize the weight that's on their shoulders. But I think that's even a greater setup for President Trump, who, from what I've observed, he's able to adapt pretty quickly and will call out the moderators for their if they're unfair and unbalanced, and then go back and hit back at her. And at the end of the day, I think most people have probably made up their mind, and this debate is either going to just cut off the money spigot to the Harris campaign or really boost the Trump campaign.
I agree with Patrice. Independents, he's already leading with independents, and I think the American people are still, on balance, pretty fair. And I think they'll be able to spot if he's not being given a fair shake in this thing. And I think it may work to his favor if he just plays it cool and lets it happen.
Well, look at the, athletes or celebrities, people from Hollywood that have come out in support of Donald Trump, like a Dennis Quaid or someone that has actually point blank said, I'm coming out in support of Donald Trump because of how they've used the justice system against him, right? It was the legal charges. It was witnessing how the mainstream media was weaponizing their powers against Donald Trump that actually got people to put their reputations on the line and come out in steadfast support of him. The winner of the week, right, is Brittany Mahomes. I mean, look at her staunch support for Donald Trump. And then even after all the haters, she said, I don't care. This is who I'm supporting. So I think you'll get a lot of that.
All right. There's
Chiefs tonight, by the way. Go Chiefs. Thursday night football.
The funny thing is we always wrap the Thursday show with winners and losers. Caitlin, this is a perfect way to start it then. Your winner of the week, you think, is Brittany Mahomes?
I'm going with Brittany Mahomes, winner of the week. Loser of the week, obviously Amazon. Alexa, what are you doing?
Oh, see, I love this. Is why I love, because you guys bring stuff up. That is such a great point. Patrice, who's your winner of the week?
The winner of the week are the two school resource officers that took down the assailant in Georgia. It was a recognition that SROs are needed in public schools for this reason. And my loser of the week is that 14-year-old kid my loser of the week is federal law enforcement. They saw that this kid was a threat a year prior when he had made threats about shooting up a school, including the school he shot up a few days ago. And so where is our intelligence community, our domestic intelligence community and law enforcement community? I don't know, but it seemed like they were sleeping on the job with this one.
My winner of the week this week, Elon Musk continues to elicit my admiration for being perhaps the only guy left in social media that's willing to keep a free exchange of ideas open and even square off with an entire nation, if need be, in Brazil, to keep his platform open and free. My loser, Liz Cheney.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Sorry, sack all the way out the door. Liz freaking Cheney.
How is this news that Liz Cheney endorsed? Like, I read all this news this morning, and I was like, it's news that she didn't do it for this long. Like, well, how is it news that a Trump hater is endorsing Kamala Harris? Like, this is, again, the media is so unbelievable in what they're covering and what they're not, which leads me to my winner of the week. I think this week exemplifies why independent media is the new winner. Mm-hmm. You look at the interviews that Trump's doing, the domination that it's having on the discourse of what's going on. Megyn Kelly put out some new stats the other day about how well her show is doing. But so many people on the right have been able to go around the mainstream media and really get injected into the dialogue because of the growth of independent media all over. And I am an all of the above kind of guy. So I don't care if it's the Daily Caller, the Daily Wire, the Blaze. It doesn't matter to me. The first network that I'm on, it's the ability to get your voice out, especially for folks on the right, has never been greater because of independent media. And I think that's the big winner. To me, I think the big loser, conversely, is the legacy media. They continue to show why they suck and why they're dying. It's because of things like, the Tim Walz issue that we talked about, covering it up. It's because they're saying that somehow Liz Cheney's endorsement is a big deal. There is just such a disconnect between the legacy media, what they cover, what they don't, and the American people. Anyway, I love it. Great thing. I really wanted to get to the new polls and some of the work that's happening on the ground with Turning Point, because that's so critical. So obviously we'll have to continue that conversation, which is great because as we head into the final 60 days, there's no better time to have that discussion. Chris Stegall, Caitlin Sinclair, Patrice Nwuko, thank you guys for all being here. Guys, remember tomorrow, an unbelievable show. That path to 270, I'm going to tell you, I did this the other day. It could end up in a tie, 269 to 269. How Alaska goes congressionally could make all the difference in the world. The candidate in Alaska that is looking to take out the incumbent will join us, plus a critical race in Pennsylvania, a bellwether race that will determine how Pennsylvania goes, which is how the race will go tomorrow. Both of them here on the show. Hit that notification button, subscribe on all platforms, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I don't care. Wherever you get the podcast, download and subscribe now. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow on The Sean Spicer Show. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.